Good morning, Professor. My name is Lybbert, and here is my business proposal presentation. I've been a security officer at a local hospital for roughly 3.5 years. The problem is that there has been a high violence within the hospital, and this trend seems to be growing from year to year. There is also tends to be a higher workplace violence that me and my other officers have witnessed within the hospital. And as we see on the news, there seems to be more and more mass shootings going on within the country. As we see here that there is an alarming high rate of disorderly conduct within the hospital in 2017. There is a high chance that this disorderly conduct will eventually lead to an assault on a patient, visitor, or staff member. There are 3 ways to help these officers to feel like they are more protected. The first is buying ballistic vests, or otherwise known as bulletproof vests, to give them that sense of protection. So if worst case scenario, they were to get shot, that vest would be able to stop that bullet and save their lives. The next option is to have a police officer or law enforcement in the hospital for 10 hours a day. The next would be having those same officers, but instead of 10 hours, would have them for 24 hours to give a 24-hour law enforcement presence within the hospital. As we see here, the cost projected for a year can be very high for all of them. So we look at the protective vest, we see that it could cost the hospital around $31,000. And to have officers there at the hospital for 10 hours a day, we're looking at $182,500. And if we bump that up to 24 hours, that greatly increases the price at $438,000 a year. As we can see, having a police officer on campus at all times may sound like a good idea, but there is a high cost to that. We have an excellent K9 program at the hospital, and the K9 program has purchased vests for their officers. After talking to the officers that were previously officers that advanced to the K9 program, they drastically feel like they are more protected when they wear their vest. As we can see here, we can see the price it costs the hospital to purchase these vests for the officers. The body armor themselves for the whole K9 program was almost $10,000. Drop that down to roughly just over $1,000 per officer. Then you would also have to buy the outer carrier vest because we live in Arizona and it is hot. These outer vests provided that cooler air enabled, and it's easier to carry the vest. That is just over $1,300 for all the K9s and $150 per officer. So a grand total of $11,000 for the whole program and roughly $12,500 for each officer. After we buy these vests and provide them to the officers, we'll be doing 4 different evaluations. The first evaluations will be to interview each security officer at 1, 3, 6, and 12 months to see how they feel and if these vests are giving them that feeling that they are more protected. We'll also be interviewing 10% of the staff at that same interval. We'll also be interviewing executive leaderships at the hospital and corporate levels at those same intervals. We'll be sending out surveys to the rest of the stakeholders, 10% of them, and we are hoping to get 8% of those that we send out back at the same intervals to see how everybody is reacting to these new vests that the security officers are wearing. And if there's any questions, please ask them now.